Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Never have to cut you out like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feel strange. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Welcome to Seahawks Man to Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael Sean Dugar. You guys can follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My @ name has not changed. It's also bang right there under my finger. For those watching on YouTube, our YouTube channel is Seahawks Man to Man. That is Seahawks Man, the number 2 man. It's also the same thing on our TikTok, on our Instagram, Seahawks Man, the number 2 man. Make sure you follow us on all those platforms or subscribe, like, rate, review, comment, repost, reshare, all the good buttons. Make sure you hit those for us. It means a lot. Thank you so much. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter at CKIDD206, and that is CKid206.
See how slow you said Blue Sky? Because I imagine you were probably going to say Blue Wire. That's how Juski should have said Jackson's name at the awards. Just like that. Like, just slow it down and make sure you're saying it slow and emphasizing how it's said. That way people would have known you're trying not to say the wrong thing on national TV. I saw Juski's non-apology. This one made me think. Did you see that before we get into the questions?
I did. Yeah. Shout out to Nate Burleson. Trying to get to it, but Juski.
Yeah. O'Day legend, Nate Burleson.
Yes. I wish you would text me back, but, you know. Falling on
get Nate on the show.
Deaf messages.
Yeah, so we'll get it. We'll get him at some point. But yeah, for those who didn't know, sorry, we should have said. Well, I should have said what was going on. Juski went on CBS Mornings or whatever their morning show is. He's probably promoting something. Don't know, don't care. Nate Burleson asked him about mispronouncing Jackson Smith in Jigba's name, and Juski was like, "Yeah, I reached out. He hit me back. So, you know, you're a comedian. You're not going to hit 100% from the field, you know?" I was like, that's a terrible thing. Just, no wonder he didn't hit you back. You probably didn't apologize or nothing. It's like, what, bro? Oh, man, that was crazy lack of accountability. Anyway, welcome back, folks. I think this is our first show since the Super Bowl. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I've been attempting to catch up on some sleep since then. Went to the parade, locker clean out. I've been off from the Athletic this week. Blessed me with a week off, which is why I've written some stuff, as you guys can see, but that's all. I wrote all that last week and just ran it, but I wasn't at the press conference to introduce Brian Fleury. Is it Fleury? Yep. Like a McFlurry? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a McFlurry. All right, cool. Wasn't there at that, but I was watching, been reading. I've been up on everything. And so that's why we're coming to you a little later after the Super Bowl, but that's okay. I got stuff to get to. You guys sent in great questions ahead of the Combine. It's a big event. We'll talk about why that's a big event. But we got questions for you guys. We got voicemails. And so, yeah. Chris, you ready?
You know, I'm always ready for voicemails. We appreciate all that love and support. So let's get rolling.
Yo, what's up? Corey from Seattle. 2 questions. Number 1, when's the new book dropping? Number 2, do you pay Reek or do you pay Job? If you got to choose one, Reek or Job, who you paying? All right, peace.
Yeah, so I'm in talks right now with the people on a book. That's probably the biggest update I can give now. If I do it, I want to make sure I can get it out by the start of the season. That's kind of the holdup right now, is timeline. You know, can I get this done and sleep at all before getting that book to you guys? Because it takes a long time to get something from when you turn it in to when it actually gets to people and gets printed and gets edited and all that stuff. So it takes some time. So to get something done by the start of the season will take a Herculean effort by me and my wife and my parents, my mother-in-law, to help with kids and all that stuff. But anyway, I am going to try to get that done for you guys. As soon as I have an update, I'll make a stronger update than that. I will provide it. But yes, I'm trying to work on that now because but like, you know, how many opportunities are you going to get to write a book about a Super Bowl team, you know? So going to try to work on that. Sleep be damned. as long as I can get it out by the season. I don't want to have to wait until November or something and then it drops. Like, I want to take advantage right then. I want to be at opening night signing books for y'all in the concourse. Maybe I'll be able to bring a table in so I'm not just standing there right by the Tunnel Club entrance, but trying to work on that. And Chris, I feel like we're right. This is the debate. This is the debate of the offseason right here on defense. Reek, Job. Reek, Job. I'm torn on this a little bit because, for one, I want both of them to get paid. Start there. Both deserve to get paid. I thought they both had really good seasons. I think the selflessness of their seasons is going to show up probably in the price tags, I would imagine. And I say that because it stands out to me when guys kind of accept, like, oh, yeah, if I got to rotate or come off the bench, I'm doing what's best for the team, or I got to get less touches for like offensive guys, then I'll do it. I notice in real time when guys are team players because I know now that gets used against you. Like if you're Reek and you want to get paid like, or Reek or Job, if you want to get paid like a cornerback one, and both of those guys are definitely that. They can be. Reek would upgrade. What would you say, Chris? What? He would be the
30.
number one corner on how many teams?
30.
I think we've done. No,
We did
this before. Let's do it again.
The only two teams were the Texans and the Broncos, where he'd be number 2.
Texans, Broncos. That was it. Was that it?
Actually, Patriots.
Yeah. Oh man. After watching the tape of the Super Bowl, that Gonzalez brother played his ass off.
So probably 25. Chicago, he'd be number 1. Rams, number 1.
I think it'd be a good debate on Carolina because both of their guys are good. But probably he'd be in the running for there.
Browns, number 1. Saints.
No. Browns got Denzel Ward. That's another one. No,
you think Denzel Ward?
Yeah. Denzel Ward is cold. I watched a little bit of their tape earlier in the year to see not earlier in the year, like midway through the year, to see if the one dude was really better than Nicky Manwaring, that one defensive rookie of the year, the Browns guy, the linebacker. Okay. But yeah, I would have Ward. I'd have Ward, and then I'm gonna be really mad if I can't remember who's the obvious one here. Got it. Eagles, Quinyon Mitchell. He's not better than Quinyon Mitchell in Philly.
Okay, so we're
Quinyon
looking at 5
is right
teams.
Yeah, exactly. So to close this point, we're looking at Reek upgrading, like drastically upgrading like 20 teams if you pay him. And depending on how Travis Hunter's knee comes, I could see him having like a season Reek just had. Travis Hunter in Jacksonville's excellent cover corner. He actually did a really good job on Jax, I thought, in their game. So Reek upgrades damn near every secondary, and he's cornerback 1. Great. Problem is, a team's going to be like, dude, you weren't even that for your own team. They didn't even play you every snap over there. Teams are going to say that. That's just how it works. The same thing's going to happen to that the Chargers corner, Dante Jackson, I think is his name. Same thing. He's balling. His coverage numbers are as good as anybody's in the league, legitimately, better than anybody we just named. He was a part-time corner over there at the Chargers. That's why he ain't getting no All-Pro, Pro Bowl. So when you hit the open market, people are going to be like, dude, you wasn't even that. Your own team didn't think he was that. So why should we think you that? Fair or not, that's the type of stuff that gets used against you in free agency. And that's going to get used, I think, against Job and Reek. They still should get paid. But so this is where their selflessness is going to come back to hurt them. Unfortunately, now it's a lot easier to be selfless when you have jewelry on that hand. Selfless all you want. Look at this big ass rock. So that helps. But you can't sell. Well, you don't sell the rock for cash. So you do want to get paid. So that's number 1. Or that's number 2. Number 3 is they do bring significantly different skill sets. I think Reek is better working to the far side of the field where there's more space because he's a better athlete and rangier. And I do think it's hard to see on tape. But Chris, you know how we would get like questions about Job? We got in a negative way. I think after like the Colts game, what were some other games we got negative questions about Job?
Not too many because he wasn't, unless you. I'm trying to think. Against the Rams, that second game, they picked on him quite a bit. Yeah. I don't know if we got a negative question though. but I don't know too many. I mean, it was like maybe 3 times. It wasn't a bunch of negative, like because everyone likes Job.
That's true. That's true. Everyone does like. Well, that's because they also hate Reek. But then they like Reek. It's weird. Reek's in a weird spot right now. Like you would. It's funny. Go look at like the questions we've got on the pod versus on like week 2, 3, and 4 or whatever, and then go look at the replies to Reek's post recently where he's posted the Will Smith gif where he's like in the middle of the room from Fresh Prince. Everybody that moved out, he's gone. Oh man, they love that kid now. But the skill sets are different. Reek's a better athlete. Teams treat Reek differently, I guess is what I'm really trying to get at. Go look at Reek's interceptions. Go look at his targets from his rookie year, like the nature of them, not the number. Tons of go balls, tons of 50-50 stuff. They don't throw none of that at Reek now. It's all throwing when the guy is either is wide open because Reek bit on a double move or underneath stuff. It's very few like, wow, Reek can go make a play on that, right? There's a respect level he earned after his rookie season. Teams got smart. They were like, maybe we shouldn't throw flea flickers at this guy. Maybe we shouldn't throw to Tom Brady when Reek is in coverage. Like the stupid stuff teams are doing, right? So I think that affects like his impact on like plays on the ball. And then whereas Job does get targeted a lot more, does get on the like deeper dangerous stuff, but boy, does he clamp that up. He works in short spaces really well, super strong, tackles really well. But I do think he would be, if he was like your every down guy every game, I think that you get susceptible to some more big plays. So what I'm trying to say is I don't know. That's my long-winded way to say I'm not really sure which guy you pay. Chris, which guy would you lean towards? Actually, I'll give an answer after you. I'm a cheat.
I think that there are differences, as you mentioned, and I think it's unfair, but it's fair. Sometimes you just want the best player. I think Reek does fit the scheme, despite everyone else saying otherwise. I know he has mental lapses that really affect fans a lot.
A lot. That's a great way to put that.
The team, yeah, they're affected, but they believe in Reek. It's kind of the same thing with Sam Darnold. They believe in Reek just as much as they believe in Sam Darnold. They believe that he is one of the best corners in the league, and when he's doing his thing, he's doing his thing. And after that week 1 funky game for Reek, he was really good throughout the rest of the season. I know the taunting penalties are a thing that people are going to point at. Oh, he led the league in taunting. Okay.
Did he really?
That's fair.
He led the league?
I think he led the league in taunting penalties. I could be wrong.
I'm gonna look that up. Go ahead. I'm gonna look that up.
But my point is, I think if you want to win multiple championships, I think you just got to deal with certain things. And to be honest, a taunting penalty is not the end of the world. Now, against the Rams, that was huge, right? That was the difference between them going to the Super Bowl and getting bounced. Completely understand that. But for the most part, I think Reek really fits this team in terms of his skill set. He's able to do things that not that many corners can do. And to let a guy go because of some attitude or just how he plays the game, I think that's unfair because you know who's also a maniac and also could probably get called for taunting every time he's on the field? Is Devin Witherspoon. But you know what? Everybody loves Devin. He plays the line as close as he can, but everybody loves him. And it's unfortunate that love is thrown all towards Spoon's way. But then Reek, he's like, damn, like I'm talented. I'm a freak athlete and I make mistakes, but y'all really don't like me. So maybe Reek is just like, you know what? I'll take my chances. I'll go get a nice check. Don't have to worry about teams hating on my fans hating on me when I make mistakes. Granted, every fan base is going to hate you for the most part when you make mistakes. But it seems like when Reek makes mistakes, it's the entire city of Seattle. And it's just Mike and I on the lifeboat like, Reek, we know you're talented, bro. It'll be okay. You made a mistake here. But everybody else is like, get him out of here. Like after week 1, I'm pretty sure I could find a tweet saying, bench him for the season. And imagine if the Seahawks took that and did it. I don't think they're putting themselves in a position to do what they did. Like Josh Jobe is talented, but he's not better than Reek. And I think it comes down to who is the best player that puts you in position to win every Sunday. I think personally it's Reek. I really do. Josh Jobe is talented, but he's not a starter like that. Like how they rotated him. I know, Mike, you're not a big fan of it, but you know what? It worked. Will it work again next season? Probably not. But that's the thing about football. It's different every year. It won't be the same. So I would personally, I'm paying Reek. I'm trying to pay him. I know John Schneider is really difficult with his money and he don't like, cashing out on guys. Chances are Reek will not be a Seahawk. But if I'm John, I'm trying to keep this guy because I know how freaking talented he is. And maybe it's another sit-down conversation with Mike McDonald, him, and his agent. Like, yo, Reek, we know how talented you are. We just need you to limit the penalties. Like, we get the hands to the face, playing physical, like that stuff. Okay, that's within the game. But the taunting stuff, can we get rid of that? Like this year, let's say you had 4. Let's get that to 0. Let's not have any. And I think you move on, you go on from there because Reek was a big reason why this team won the Super Bowl defensively. He is that talented. And I don't think punt on a guy because of his miscues during the game is enough, because now you just gave up a guy that ran 4.2, 6'3", 6'4", really good athleticism, good hand-eye coordination. When he gets his hands on the football, it's likely an interception. I know it didn't work out for him this year, but for the most part, he is that dude. And as you mentioned, Mike, teams aren't going to try him over the top. They're doing different things because he's earned that respect. And now you're basically resetting that position opposite Josh Jobe. What is that going to look like? I think that's harder to redo than just try to figure out a way to pay a guy and keep him in Seattle.
The penalty thing. Well, I got the numbers now. It's interesting. Reek had, according to True Media, Reek only had 2 taunting penalties in the regular season, which sounds about right. I didn't feel like he was like going crazy. He had the one against the Falcons and then one against the Commanders, and then yes, obviously he had the one in the playoffs as well. So he had 3. That did lead the league.
Oh wow.
He had 3 if you include the playoffs. No one else had more than 1. So you do have that. That is technically league leader in there. Yeah, so if you go just regular season, to be clear on this, Reek had 2. No one else had more than 1. This is according to True Media, which is interesting. I guess there's not a lot of taunting penalties, but I wouldn't care too much about that. Joe punched Stephon Diggs in the head in the Super Bowl.
No one cared.
It was great, and no one cared. He should have got thrown out.
Facts. If Reek did it, he's been thrown out.
You definitely would have been thrown out. I don't know why he wasn't. I mean, I didn't care, but it's just like I watched the game back. I was like, yo, he punched him? And I asked Joe about it. He was like, yeah. I won't. Joe told me why. I won't say why. But so that's crazy. Joe ain't done nothing like that all year. He just punched Stephon Diggs in the head in the Super Bowl. In terms of total penalty count, for anyone who's curious, now that I have the numbers up, I think Reek was at 9. Let's see here. Job actually had more total penalties, 10. Wow, that's a lot. And Reek had 8. Corners are usually, I'm looking at this list now, this is mostly corners. And then for some reason, AJ Brown has a bunch as well. And then it's a lot of offensive linemen as well, have a lot of penalties, which makes sense. They play a lot of snaps. I think I'm with you to finally put a bow on this question. I'd probably go with Reek, mostly just because it raises the ceiling. I just think, like you mentioned, you go with the best guy. They both should get paid. I'd go with Reek, pay him. I don't even think you need to have a combo. It's just really is just be you. That'd just be when he signs a contract, just be you. You're a great player. You're a great player. The film shows it. The numbers show it. Yeah. Same thing. Just like I'm sure they didn't sign Sam and say, hey, man, when we get in a big game, don't screw up. Just like, nah, Sam, just be you, and that would be the sentiment. Nothing more than that, nothing less. Just be you. Because you're only signing the guy because you believe that him is enough. And so that's probably where I would go there. I don't think they'll do that. If you ask me what I think they'll do. No. But what I do, what would Chris do, we would keep 27 in a Seahawks jersey. Taunting, I don't care about taunting penalties. Taunting penalties means you made a play. For them, I mean, every time he got one, he made a play. Just don't punch nobody. That was crazy. As funny as that was, you definitely should not punch anyone. Because then you're hurting the team. You shouldn't do that. But that was hilarious. That Job, who had done nothing like that all year in the Super Bowl, was like, all them cameras. It was in replay too. No flag, no nothing, bro. Sorry. All right. Next question. Let's roll.
Hey, Mike and Chris. Thank you so much for a great podcast. Love listening to every episode. My name is Chris. I'm from Everett. I was wondering, now that the Seahawks are about to be on their fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years, how do you feel like this lack of continuity on the offensive side of the ball has affected the team the past couple of years, and how is it going to affect them next year too? Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, appreciate the question. I didn't even realize. I knew it was 4 OCs in 4 years. Just hearing it though, we got the question. I was like, oh damn, that's right. So someone like Jax, for instance, will be on a fourth OC in 4 years. That's pretty crazy. I mean, the Eagles Hurts deals with that every year, but you don't really see that. I think Baker was going through that for a little bit too in Tampa because his OCs just kept getting jobs. I think he's got the same one for next year, but so that is something that's difficult to deal with. I think one way you mitigate that is you have continuity among the players. As far as I can tell, they're probably running back the same starting five up front because, right, Chris, they don't have any. No one's a free agent, right? Abe's under contract, just got a bag. Charles, yeah, Sundell's only going to be in year 3. Anthony Bradford's in year 4, and then Gray was obviously was a rookie. So you're running back the same O line. Maybe you bring in someone to compete with Jalen and AB. That's fine. But right now, as we sit here in February, you're running back the same O line, running back the same quarterback. Even if you don't bring back the same running backs, I think you're okay. You got the same quarterback. We'll see what happens at receiver, but as long as you got Jax, you'll be okay. So that does affect teams. It does. I think if you have continuity elsewhere, though, you can be fine. And I also think what's going to be huge, we could talk a little about this later in some more questions we got about Fleury, is the identity has to be clear no matter who you hire. And that comes from the head coach. I think that's what you saw with the Legion of Boom. You go from who was first? DQ was, it was either DQ or Gus was first. But either way, when I think Gus was first. Yeah, Gus was DC. Gus left to have DQ. They still knew who they wanted to be as a defense. And then I think DQ leaves. Forget who they went through after that. Maybe Chris Richard, I think. And they still knew who they wanted to be as a defense. And that's why they were number one scoring defense with multiple defensive coordinators. Even when Chris Richard got canned, I believe they were still a top 10 scoring defense despite the talent drain. So the same thing has to apply with Mike and his OCs, right? That 4-4 stat, I don't think it's as damning as it sounds when you say it, just because now we're looking at like Mike knows what he wants. Mike McDonald knows the vision and is going to hire people knowing like, hey, this is what Seahawk football is. And that's what Pete was doing back then. It's like, all right, I think he was promoting from within, so it was a little easier. But still, the idea is like, all right, you know what we are. We're giving you a lot of the same players. Go do that. Like when I did watch Brian Fleury's press conference, the thing that stood out to me, I don't know if this jumped out to you, Chris, was how often he just kept saying, this roster is good. I don't need to go and reinvent the wheel, you guys. This roster is very good. As long as you give me a lot of these same guys, we'll be fine. So over the years, I think it's been super detrimental. I think it's why guys have gotten fired because the OCs have been bad. Shane was bad. Grubb was bad. Some of the assistants under these guys were bad as well. And that is why the team did not have an identity. We get to December every year having the same conversation. And they didn't have that problem with Clint. And even though he was a new OC as well. I don't think they should have that problem because Mike McDonald, if nothing else, is very clear on what he wants. Like I was rewatching, since I had some free time, I was thinking like, how would I do this book? And so I was rewatching old episodes of The Sound, their documentary that the Seahawks do. It's not that good, but just out of curiosity, we went back and rewatched the 2024 season of it, and it's so much of the same stuff. Mike has been spitting the same cliches and everything about shared vision, chasing edges, how we want to play, the physicality, running off the ball, like all this stuff. It actually makes it hilarious that he signed Grubb because it was very clear Grubb was going to do none of that. But like it's been very consistent from the jump. So I think, Chris, as long as they have Mike and he articulates very clearly, which he does, what he wants from his team, I think they could have 10 OCs in 10 years and generally be fine as long as they got Mike, a clear vision, and then some continuity on the roster, particularly the same 5 linemen. Same 5 linemen from the Super Bowl team is pretty nuts. Like if you think about it, like having those same 5 guys, and your quarterback and your wide receiver one. Yeah, I think you could be the OC, Chris, and they should be fine as long as you do what Mike McDonald says. That's of course obviously.
Yeah, I think it starts with the guy that's running and orchestrating everything, because he is the visionary. And to Fleury's point, when he came in, he said not much is going to change. You know, I'm going to run pretty much the same thing, and that's what everyone, fans, Mike McDonald, that's what they're expecting, for him to come in and maybe add his little spin to it. But for the most part, wide zone, trying to attack deep when they can. One thing that stood out to me was how much he wants to run the football in the red zone. Like, he wants to run it into the end zone. He doesn't mind throwing the football, but he was like, we are running the football to score touchdowns when we get to that red zone. That's the goal there, like scoring touchdowns through the ground because space gets tight. All valid reasons, but yeah, I think for the most part, it's definitely led by Mike McDonald. However he wants it being done, executed. And it was executed last year by Clint Kubiak. Now, obviously, they won a Super Bowl and they lost Clint Kubiak and they're bringing someone else in. But I think as long as you're following what Mike McDonald has, I think you should be good. We did get some Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Glad you mentioned that. I'm interested in the numbers there because that is an area, the red zone thing, to be very clear. That was interesting that he said that. I'm glad you pointed that out because the Seahawks actually weren't that good for the season, like running the ball down there. For instance, like offensive rushing success. Oh, I got the wrong year. Hold on. Ooh, about to give y'all some bad numbers. Oh, yeah, they're even worse. Just changed the year. I had it on 2024. I got it on 2025. Offensive rushing success rate. When the ball carrier is a runner, or excuse me, is a running back. Just we filter out like, running quarterbacks, QB sneaks, and stuff like that. Jalen Hurts, the tush push merchant, get those out of here. The Seahawks. Where do you think the Seahawks were in rushing success rate in the red zone last year, Chris?
Oh, they were not good. They didn't get good until the last 4 weeks of the season, so they couldn't have jumped up that much. I'll say 24th.
God damn, you're good. 24th, exactly. Wow. Did you know that already?
I did not, Mike. I don't have the nerd numbers that you pull up. I've never asked you for your true media account. I just let you give us the numbers. So no, long wind of saying no, I did not.
Wow, that's good. What the hell? Yeah. Take you to the casino. Yes.
Don't do that.
They were 24th, right behind the Chiefs and right ahead of the Eagles, actually. Fascinating when you take the quarterback runs out of the Eagles. The Rams actually number 1, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, get that number up. And I think you're in a good spot. They actually had so many rushing touchdowns as they have now that we're here. They actually led the league in rushing touchdowns in the red zone by running backs in the regular season with 16. So, like you said, I think part of that is them getting it going later in the year. Now, actually, let me look at which should I start with? Start with what, like week 11, maybe? If I was to filter this, when you say they honest,
I would go later, Mike. Like week 14. Yeah.
All right, that's the Falcons game, I think, maybe. So week 14. If you go from week 14, they jumped up to 16th. And if you go from the Rams game, the one they won, they dropped back down to 18th. Interesting. Yeah, so they weren't great there, is the long and short of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Fleury did mention that. Yeah, it's like, let's run the ball down there. I think the red zone offense was fine. It got better late in the year, but Fleury is right about that. The best teams down there can just hand it off. They can hand it off, or they have Devontae Adams. One of the two. That's why the Rams offense was so good. They just had both. A team should be trying to run it this offseason or sign Mike Evans and just throw him goal line fades. That should be a team's plan. Anyway, appreciate the question. What else we got?
Mark Petrie slides in the DMs. How crucial do you think it is for the Seahawks to re-sign Rasheed Shahed?
Yeah, so once I finally got some sleep and was able to process the decisions they have to make. Oh man, it was a lot. I tried to sleep when I got back, man. And then they had locker clean out at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I can't sleep in. And then the parade was the next day. And I was like, oh man, get up and do the parade. But not complaining, just saying. Once I finally, my mind was just running on fumes. I have so many just declined radio, and that's why you guys haven't heard me on the radio or nothing all for a minute. Because I just been like, no. But once I refreshed that back and was like, I was like, they should pay Rasheed like whatever he wants. They really should. I do think he helps their offense go to the next level. And his numbers are not great. If you look, I did like a free agent ranking, and I think I had him like second or something like that among like Seahawks free agents. He is super, super important, I think, because the same thing with Reek. You see why you don't want to get caught up in too much of the height, weight, speed stuff. Too much, because that's how you draft like who's just John Ross. That's how you end up using a top 10 pick on like John Ross, right? Because he ran super fast. You don't always want to do that. But when you can pair that, with guys who can play ball, you just see the difference it makes. You see the difference it is that Reek runs 4.2. You just see that. You see the difference that like his arms are super long and he runs 4.2. Same thing with like Nicky Mawari. Like I remember John Snyder at the on draft night was like, he had the best combine I've ever seen. I remember thinking, John, who cares? Can he play ball or not? But then you see Nick make some plays though with those long arms, and you see him defend the run the way he does, and you see how twitchy he is, and you see how fast he is, and you're like, oh, okay. Sometimes the height, weight, speed stuff, like when you do pair it with a ball player, it really does change your ceiling quite a bit. Rasheed is that same thing for me. I think it's a very big priority. I think if you've got to get rid of some other folks to make money for Shahed, you do it. I just think he's that important. And the receiver market quietly, it's not great. Let me see. Let me pull up some guys here. Let's see. I'm gonna use shout out to my colleague at the Athletic, Daniel Popper. I didn't know he was even doing our top 50 free agent rankings thing. The reason I'm shouting him out, and I'm gonna like refer to this probably a lot this offseason, is because Pop is Chris and I are film nerds as well. You guys probably don't know Pop. He covers the Chargers for us. I think we've had him on the show before. Pop is like triple the nerd we are. Pop will just sit there and drink IPAs and just grind tape all goddamn day. It is crazy how much Pop grinds. So I know a lot of work was put into this list. It was not just like looking at stats and stuff like that. Like if he did a top 150, Pop probably watched film of like 500 guys with the last like 2 months. He's a psycho in a good way. So shout out to Pop. So look who he has on the receivers list. So yeah, he has Mike Evans as the top receiver, Alec Pierce, Wendell Robinson, Chris's guy Juan Jennings, Jalen Naylor. Jalen Naylor, who quietly had a very good year.
So did Wendell Robinson.
Yeah, you know that
it wasn't quietly. It was loud. My bad. He had
no. It was quiet. It was quiet in terms of like relative to, I guess, how often I heard his name among like good receivers. Because you're right. When I clicked this, let me click the Popper's got the stats in here. Wendell had 92 catches for 1,000 yards. What? That is that's good volume. Now his advanced metrics suck. Now you get 1.8 yards per route. That's awful. And then he had 140 targets, which is also why he was able to produce like he did. He just got a lot of looks. That's a lot of targets. But yeah, he's an interesting one. Juan Jennings, Chris's boy, is on here. Jalen Naylor, Romeo Dobbs is ahead of Shahed. I would disagree with that, but that's whatever. So Pop has Shahed as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th best unrestricted free agent receiver. I might even have him higher, to be honest, in terms of like what his speed can do. And if he was to get more targets, that's the thing. You're always projecting a free agency. Like, what happens if we give this guy more ops? You know who reminds me of Chris is Chenna. Like Chenna was basically buried behind. Who did he play behind in the Chargers? It was Bosa for sure. Who was the other? No, they got Melvin Ingram. It was Melvin Ingram. Remember, it was Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. So Chenna was basically what Boye is now. And the Seahawks were like, well, if we make you a starter, you'll produce like those guys. And what do you know? Chenna's been great. Shaheed's the same way. If I was signing Shahed, I'd be like, if we just give him the same type of looks that Wendell Robinson's getting, he'll be great. That's kind of how I view him. That I do think he needs to be treated like that in free agency by the Seahawks. And Chris, I think that he's a huge priority. I think you fudge whatever numbers you need to do, creative accounting you should take care of Jax, which we'll get to, but also I think Shahed is very high on my priority list because of what he does for your ceiling with the game-changing speed he has, combined with the fact he's also a good football player.
I'm surprised John didn't sign and deliver after he won the Rams game, but what do I know? I just watched it and was like, oh, that guy should get paid whatever he wants.
In week 16.
The second game, my apologies. Yes, for those
Yeah.
that are like, what game, Chris? Week 16, the punt return that basically changed the entire season. If that doesn't scream pay me now, I don't know what does. I know the receiving stuff is, everyone's like, well, he didn't catch no footballs. You're right. He didn't exceed in that. But you know where he did exceed? Punt return and kick return. He changed the Seahawks season. I think that amounts to getting him signed as soon as possible because some teams probably going to throw him whatever amount of money because they realize the impact. And as Mike mentioned, if he gets more opportunities, who knows how great he could be with the Seahawks, especially with JSN going back or coming back next season after a phenomenal year. I'd imagine he'd be even better. This next one is from Poppy from South Australia. What up, Poppy? It's been about a week or 2 weeks since the big one, and this all feels bittersweet. But my question is, from your point of view, have there been any moments throughout the season that have symbolized this team-wide connection and brotherhood?
Yes, a few. It's a great question. One last thing on Wendell Robinson, because then I was curious. You guys know me. I like looking stuff up because 140 targets is nuts. Chris, that was 8th in the league. Targets. Yeah. Oh my God.
I had him on fantasy and I was blowing teams out because he decided, he's projected to get 8 points. Like 30. I was like, Jesus, man. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I played fantasy all year. We in the same league and I had no idea.
He wasn't on my team in that league. In the KJR league, he was. Yeah, I had him and I was just whooping cheeks.
Yo, this is great. Look at he has 8th, bro. He had 3 more targets than George Pickens. He had more targets than Ibuka, Cortland Sutton, AJ Brown. Yeah, I mean, he had 1 fewer target than Justin Jefferson. That is great. Wow, good for him. Now that's how you get treated in a contract year. Remember I was saying like Job and Reek was being all selfless? Hell no. Wendell was getting that pill. Good for him. Anyway, moments that spoke to the brotherhood. There's been a ton of them. I will pick 2 of my favorites. One is the very, very, very obvious Ernest Jones just saying F you to us after the game. The Rams game they lost. And they literally never lost again after that. It was just so I'm just going to pick 2 Ernest moments. It was just so powerful in that moment for Ernest to do that. And I wrote about this going into the Super Bowl as well. We've been doing these like Legion of Boom versus the Mob comparisons, which is fine. I like those comparisons. They're fun. But when you talk about the personality of the team, John Snyder's been asked that a few times, and he keeps saying that like the LOB era team was like edgier and they had more of a chip on their shoulder, and they did. But I want him to emphasize more that they were playing for each other. There was a very big deal. I think the difference between the two is not much like how much they were playing for each other. I think that is actually pretty equal. The difference is how guys felt about the quarterback. These guys, like you said earlier, Chris, love Sam. No one ever spoke about Russ like that on defense. Like there's no one willing to. I won't say ever because I didn't cover that era. So maybe someone has a quote somewhere I haven't seen. But there was never a moment like that I could find. I just wrote a book about this where someone came to bat for Russ in that way. I just couldn't find it. Where the guy just clearly is the reason you lost. 4 interceptions, big moment, and they're just taking accountability. It's just not how it works in that way to just say, nope, it was on the defense. You got something to say about Russ? Screw you. He's our guy, blah, blah. So I thought it just stood out in real time. It just mattered so much to me. I led my story with it. I've referenced it so many times after that. I think I led my Super Bowl game story with that scene because it was just so powerful to me, and it just jumped out. And we talk about the difference in the two teams. That is really it. Like, look how those guys viewed the quarterback when he played well or when he played poorly, versus how they view Sam when he plays well or he plays poorly. It's just so much of like, keep my quarterback's name out your mouth. Like how Doug rode for the receivers, how he would just cuss out whoever, Deion Sanders, Chris Carter. Doug would just like, whatever, I'll cuss you out over my guys. Don't talk about my guys. That's how this team feels on all sides of the ball about Sam. That's very different. It's a lot healthier dynamic too. So I think that speaks to it. And then my other one is probably my other favorite Ernest moment. It's just when he punched Zach Tom in the head twice. That's the Packers right tackle during joint practice. Like that's because that's who Ernest is. It kind of prefaced the cussing out of the media. It's like, nah, man, Ernest is one of them. He's very protective. I don't know if you guys, I'm an only child, but I've been around people who are big brothers, or like just big cousins, or the person who was very clearly tasked with protecting younger people around them, maybe younger sister, younger brother, whatever. And they just have those protective instincts where it's just like, I don't really care what you do to me. That's fine. You can say whatever about me, you know, but if you say something to insert person here that I care about, I will kill you. That's Ernest. Like if Zach Tom, the Packers right tackle, had like pushed Ernest or called him out of his name, you know, called him slur, something like that, Ernest probably would have just been like, all right, said something back to him, went back to the huddle. No, Zach put his hands on Spoon. So then Ernest just saw red. Like, oh, you touched 21. Now I have to kill you. And that that's a little unhealthy, but in the sake of football, it's healthy as hell. And that always stood out to me, stood out in real time, just to have guys like that. Because I think, Chris, we talked about that in the past where people would get so mad about DK being willing to scrap. You know, like DK has been thrown out of games twice. I think DK punched a guy and got thrown out of a game against Green Bay. And I never had a problem with that because I do think every team needs at least one or two guys who are willing to punch other people. You just need that. Football's too violent. You just sometimes need that. It's like, hey, I will punch you. Even if you're on my team or on the other team, if you do something that disrespects what we stand for, that's fine. I do think every team needs that. Ernest is that. That's great. And I think that's because Ernest is like that in the name of other guys, it's part of the brotherhood. It's like Ernest is not going to punch you if you say something about Ernest. He will punch you if you say something about Spoon or Nick or Reek or Mike McDonald or Sam or Ken Walker. Like he's just willing to go punch you. So those the two Ernest moments really stand out to me of like, if you want to know why this team was so close, look at that.
This is from our guy, a local legend in the Seattle sports scene, Mr. Jim Moore. Hey, Mike and Chris, they didn't tag Walker so high. Or excuse me, they didn't tag Walker. So how high do you think they will go salary-wise per year to try to keep up with them? 10 mil, 11, 12? Or would they really be okay with moving on for cheaper options at running back?
Yeah, man, I was in a, like I said, I was off the day that somebody reported, I think it was Schefter, like, oh, they're not going to tag Ken. They put me in like a little Slack channel. I was like, all right, wait, this is news. Can anyone confirm this? Tag me, even though I was off. I remember thinking, what? Do y'all know John? He not tagging no running back, man. That's not news. I can tell you that. I almost hit him back like, yeah, I can confirm. He ain't doing that. And I hadn't called nobody. Just be like, come on, man. It's John. He's not tagging no running back. So no, they did not use a tag on Ken Walker. I think it's like 14 million. So no. Do I think they'll keep Ken? Yes. Will it be at what we can call maybe like Ken's market value? Probably not, because Ken's really only paid, or excuse me, John's paid what? 2 running backs, really? Marshawn and Chris Carson. I think he gave Marshawn a good bag, I think twice, and then gave Chris Carson that 2 years and like 12 mil or something. And after Chris's rookie year. And Chris, by the way, Chris Carson, I put that in my story. I saw some people like, Ken's way better than Chris. Go look at the numbers, by the way. And then also just watch the tape. Chris Carson was very, very, very good. They had the number 1 rushing offense in the league with Chris Carson. Like Chris was like just as good as Ken, just a different runner than Ken. But from my opinion, the numbers back this up. Film does too. They're just different players. Chris was a little slower, which is why he went in the 7th round. Ken's much faster, 2nd round. But in terms of physicality and just also athleticism, y'all forget Chris flipped over a guy. Y'all forget that? You remember Google Chris Carson flipping over Eric Reed? That was incredible. It looked like freaking Spider-Man. It was just as incredible as Ken flipping over Anzalone or whatever, the white linebacker in Detroit, and flipping over him on Monday Night Football. They were very similar athletes. The legitimately just differences. Ken is faster. That's it. It has a better dead leg, but whatever. So that contract, I bring up Chris Carson's contract as the last time that John paid a guy. That was about, it's like 2 years and 10 million, 10.4. An updated version of that with the salary cap would be around 8.6 million. That's what this is according to Over the Cap. They do a good job of saying like, here's what that used to be, here's what that's worth now. basically adjusted for inflation. Great reference. Let's use Kyren Williams as a comp. You say that's fair? Is he a fair one? You say Chris he uses a comp?
I would. Oh well, are you talking about player wise or money wise?
Money. Like if you're
Yes.
if you're Ken's agent, you go in there and like, hey, this is what Kyren just got. My guy's better, so we should start here. That's why I bring up Kyren. Yeah.
Because I was gonna say Bijan, but then you made it very clear we're talking money wise because Bijan.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, so we'll go with Kyren. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to use someone who got paid recently. Yes.
Yep.
I think Bijan's probably up too. Ooh, that could be interesting. Anyway, Kyren got 3 years and 11 million, 3 years and 33 million. That's 11 million per. That math I can do very easily. An updated version of that, since Kyren just signed it, is only 11.9. Now, if I'm Ken's agent, we have to start there. That's where I'm starting. Like, hey, my client's better than Kyren Williams. Even if I'm not saying I agree with that or not. Just if I was Ken's agent, his new agent, by the way, that he just got, which is hilarious. I'm going in there saying, hey, this is what Kyren got. This is what my guy did. This is what my guy did. Took a back seat, basically. Didn't get no red zone touches for like 2 months. And then turned up when you guys needed him to. We got to start there with the Kyren contract. And we can structure however we want. But I need the guarantees, the cash flow to be very similar to that. Chris, I don't know how that'll go, but I feel like that is probably that should be the starting point. What do you think?
I think you're onto it. K9 showed a lot despite not getting those goal line carries. I feel as if every week I talked about K9 not getting red zone touches in some fashion. Like, oh, look who it is. I just ran for 60 yards and Zach Charbonnet comes in from the 3-yard line to run it in. Cool. I didn't see K9 doing one of these, which is, you guys can't see me if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever, but I'm tapping my helmet, tapping my head as saying, I need a breather. I don't recall K9 being that type of guy that's like ever really tired. He just was out there and was like, yep, I'm doing this. And you see him try out the field because now you're just bringing in Zach Charbonnet from 2-3 yards out and he runs it in. Yeah, he deserves to get the bag. Give him an opportunity. If you gave him those same carries, I do believe K9 scores. I don't think K9's terrible in that area. For whatever reason, though, they decided to go a different route. And you know what? He played every game this season. So as silly as it may sound for me to spout all that out.
That's right. Ken didn't miss a game. Wow.
Didn't miss a game. So
that's right. Wow.
Despite him not getting every single carry when I thought he deserved it, it ended up working out. And I understand Zach Charbonnet's injury. I'm not pointing out that's the reason why everything happened. I'm just stating that the opportunities were presented and the red zone later on in the year, and you saw what K9 did. He hit it, Super Bowl MVP. You guys know how that went. So I feel as if the Seahawks should probably say, you know what? Our plan of keeping you healthy worked out, and you were the best you needed to be when it counted the most. Here's $11.9 million. Let's get you back on the field with the Seahawks.
Yeah, and here's where that would rank if they did that, by the way, just to pull up these numbers. The top 5 is Saquon, Christian, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor. Taylor makes 14. Kamara, I think on a per year is like, it's 12.2. It's all according to over the cap. Josh Jacobs at 12. So that would put Ken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, the 7th highest paid running back. Right above James Cook, Kyren, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon for some reason. So yeah, I mean, seems fair to me. Ken is that. And then Zach having a torn knee that changes the math, I think, quite a bit. Maybe you don't even care about having this discussion if you have Zach there too, but with Zach's gonna need to rehab for months and months and get right. Like, you gotta have Ken. You gotta have Ken in there. So that's what I think they should do, is use Kyren's contract as a baseline and probably honestly just give an updated version of it. Yeah, that 11.9. Maybe 2-year deal, whatever 11.9 times 2 is. And yeah, let's go. Try to win the Super Bowl again.
This is from Chris Hamilton. Speaking of injuries, what do we know about Torrey Horton, that is, and Zach Charbonnet and the status for them next season? Anything, Mike?
I don't know about Torrey. He was around at Super Bowl week. I was doing so much other stuff. I just never just walked over and said, hey, how's your leg? Really regret not doing that. Thankfully, I'll be at the combine. I will ask John. There we go. And hopefully get an update there. Zach just recently had the surgery, it seems, based on his Instagram. I don't know if that's an old picture. Don't know. The caption's a Bible verse. So that doesn't help. But let's assume that he just got the surgery. So that's a February surgery on your ACL. Yeah, man, that's tricky. I think we talked about this on the show, but ACLs, you just never really know. I watched Jordan Brooks tear his, I think, on New Year's Day a few years ago, and he played, I think, every game the next year because Jordan's bionic. I couldn't believe that. And then, like, Rashad Penny tore his one year in, like, December and then didn't come back until December. And then you got, like, Riley Mills, I think, in college tore his. It was in the CFP, so that had to be December as well, and came back. I think his first game might have been the Colts game, which was in December. So there's like some guys who are like, I need a year, and Jordan Brooks needed 9 months. It just depends. So I would not expect. Let's meet in the middle on that. So what I say, some guys need 9, some guys need 12. What's that? Like 10 and some change? What's 10 and some change from right now? Like November, probably, maybe closer to December. That's probably what I would guess. Not only Zach and his surgeons really know the real projection and, the Seahawks medical staff, but this is also goes into the Ken discussion of why it's like, because we have this uncertainty currently, I got to pay Ken. I got to, and when you get back Zach later in the year, maybe it can be like a Riley Mills situation where now you got fresh legs coming in. He just does some Herculean thing in a big game. That Riley Mills sack might be one of the best individual plays of the goddamn season. They won the Super Bowl. So I would anticipate, without knowing like the details of Zach's surgery, that we see him close to the trade deadline. Maybe like he gets activated back to practice around that. That would just be my guess sitting here right now, 9 months or so away from that timeline.
This is from Sam. Hey guys, much has been made regarding the big needs of the offseason: corner, running back, receiver. But what's one under the radar position you think the Hawks need a sneaky ad?
The good thing is, well, I don't have. Do you have an obvious one before I say this?
An obvious one? Ooh.
Well, I guess it's under the radar, so it's not obvious. But you know, we're getting at.
I guess right guard, consistency, or you could say, well, no, that's a. I guess it has to be right guard or another corner. I just. You tell me, because now I'm wondering what it is. Because tight end feels like it's sold. Well, maybe not. So actually,
no, tight end straight.
Straight. Okay.
Remember they extended Salbert.
That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, Salbert and AJ Barner, 1 and 2 punch, perfect. Backup Elijah Arroyo. Okay, we'll see. So yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, what do you have?
No, that's what's this roster, guys, was really, really, really good. It really just depends on how they choose to spend this money. That's why there's such a big offseason, because you don't have a lot of picks. They only have 4 picks. They have their original picks in the first 3 rounds and like a 6th round pick. Everything else they've used in other trades, including Shahed, which is also why, by the way, I'm paying Shahed. So you're not sitting there losing Shahed, and then you don't have a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick. Now, you would have rings on your finger, make you feel better, but the rings can't score touchdowns, right? Like you need players out there on the field. So you don't have an obvious need. That's where teams like that, if you're in this place, my default would just be, if there's linemen out there you like on either side of the ball, go get them. That's just always going to be my default. Trenches. Like, oh, we're good. Maybe we like a sneaky under the radar one, I guess, in that context could be if you don't re-sign Josh Jones. Like, what are you going to do with your swing tackle spot? Yeah, because that's a huge spot. Like, I don't even fault. Like, last year's offseason was very bad for John Schneider. Probably one of his worst, low key. Like, go look at who he signed. Go look at how they performed. It was awful. One of the moves, though, that I understood the process on, he just got some bad luck, was signing George Fant. He needed insurance for Abe and Charles. That made sense. George just got hurt, which can happen to anyone. Rasheed could have blew his knee out the first play, right? Doesn't mean the trade wasn't like good process. So Josh Jones, similar, was the same way. I think he got like $4 million or something, and he played in 3 of the biggest games of the year at the time, was fine, helped him get the 1 seed, and then Charles came back, and then boom. You still have Mason Richmond, you have Bryce Cable-Dew. You got Christian Haynes, you got other backup linemen, Amari Kite, undrafted guys. So you have other tackles if you're just like, all right, or other linemen, I should say, that you could convert if you need to. You have other guys, so you don't necessarily need to say, let's pay Josh, but that could be a sneaky one because you don't have a ton of guys with a lot of playing experience. Josh was a veteran. That's why the George Fant thing is huge, because it was like, oh, we know he can play. We've seen him play. We can just plug him in. Whereas the younger guys usually need more time to develop, particularly guys drafted in later rounds like Richmond, Cable Dew, Kite, undrafted. So that's probably the sneakiest I can think of. But guys, this roster was really good, like top to bottom, a very, very, very good roster. There's just guys you got to prioritize keeping, in my opinion, to keep it that way. Got to choose between Reek or Job. But in my mind, one of Reek or Job, Sheed, and Ken are just non-negotiable. Like that, you just need to do void years, whatever fancy accounting you need to do to make that happen. If you want to delay extending Spoon and Jax even in the name of just saving the cash budget, because everyone needs cash. If you're going to do that, that's fine. But I just think it's just no-brainer. Ken, Sheed, one of Reek or Job. I think you're putting yourself far behind the 8 ball if you don't do all 3 of those things. Everything else, it feels like a bonus. But yeah, I would say if you're going under the radar, finding a vet swing tackle, because there's going to be some out there. And then if you don't want to do that, go look at the edge market, go look at the nose tackles, go look at whatever, and just go get a guy. You just can never have too many guys up front on either side of the ball.
This is from Chris Leeper. What percentage chance do the Seahawks bring in competition at right guard?
Probably 100. Okay, sorry. Maybe not bring in, but have competition is like 100%. Whether that's running Christian Haynes out there again, maybe giving Olu a shot to play there, using a draft pick, saying, hey, Bryce Cable we're gonna roll the ball out. If you want to play, go play some guard. Richmond, go play some guard. Amari Kite, go play some guard. Do whatever you got to do. I think that's like 100% certainty. I'd see no value in doing it the other way. I think part of the reason AB played the way he did in the training camp to get the job is because he was in a competition. And I thought he played better late in the year as well. Like he's a starting guard in the league for sure. He is just one of those guys who sometimes the league gets it right. Like what was AB, a 4th or 5th round draft pick? He looks like a guy who was a 4th or 5th round draft pick. Like he can be good for spurts. Then he might just get whipped on a play. That's day 3 guys. Those are day 3 linemen. If those type of guys didn't have that on their tape, they go in the 1st round. Like Gray, who also can be real good, and then just get whipped on a play. That's just kind of the nature of playing line, to be honest. But yeah, I imagine that'll be a comp. Same thing with Jalen Sundell, though. I think probably have some comp there too. I just think that was why those guys played the way they did as well. It's because there was someone right over there like, damn, if I'm not on it today, there's Olu. Or if I'm not on it today, there's Christian Haynes, and vice versa. If I'm not on it today, there's such and such. I do think that helped quite a bit. And that's just kind of the reality of when you come in as like an undrafted guy like Jalen was, or a day 3 pick. You just kind of got to be like that, which is why some guys are so happy when they do get paid. Like Charles isn't looking over his shoulder no more. He's always going to be a hard worker anyway, but now you don't got to be like, if I'm not on it today, there's Amari Kite. No, they just gave me $100 million. If I'm not on it today, they better hope I'm on it tomorrow. And the next day, because that's $100 million I just got. But yeah, I do think for sure you're looking at training camp competitions at right guard and probably center in the offseason.
This is from Brian Manzo. Should JSN expect to be the highest paid wide receiver? Would the Seahawks consider making him that?
If you don't, that's just idiotic. And it's very rare I use that terminology to describe roster decisions. You just need to do that if you're the Seahawks. That is just very simple. Who's the highest paid receiver right now? Is Jamar Chase?
Jamar, yeah, I think so.
Oh my God, Jamar makes $40 million a year? Ooh, woo, didn't know that. Yeah, you got to do that. You just got to do it. You do. Jamar's contract, according to Over the Cap, is $161 million. That looks like that's over 4 years. Cool. You go and you give Jax $165 million over 4 years, and you structure Maybe you do 3 years if you want, since he's already got 2 years left on his deal. Whatever it is, Jax just turned, I think, 24 on Valentine's Day. So you're locking up Jax through his 20s. Yeah, you go ahead and do that. I do think they will consider doing that. My guess would be, without having talked to anyone about it specifically, that they will do that at some point. John and his staff have shown a willingness to pay the premium prices for premium guys. At one point, they had the 2 highest paid safeties. They've had the highest paid linebacker. Bobby's been the highest paid linebacker, I think, on 2 different contracts. I believe his 2015 deal and his 2019 deal. If not, his 2015 deal made him like the 2nd highest or something like that. So they will pay the premium prices for guys who produce at premium levels. You make an all-pro team, John typically takes care of you. It's kind of been a pretty good rule of thumb. Richard Sherman, all-pro, highest paid. Earl Thomas, all-pro, highest paid. Even Cam Chancellor, same thing. I think Marshawn was up there too at some point. I have to go back and look. But generally, John has shown a willingness to pay the premium prices for the premium players. Same thing even with Jamal Adams, who wasn't all-pro in Seattle, I don't think. Maybe he was second team in 2020, but made him like the highest paid safety in the league. So if you're going to do that and those other deals I just named, Jax at 24 years old, yeah, you go ahead and do that. They should do that. Like Chris said about Shahed, there probably should have been, after week 16, a check just waiting in Shahid's locker when he came back from that was a Thursday night game, weekend off. By the time Shahed reported back to the VMAC on Monday, there should have been a check right there. It says, here, buddy, here is 3 years and $60 million or something like that. Whatever. For Shahed. Same thing. Jax, I just saw, did an interview at his hometown in Rockwall, Texas. He's got like a charity thing he does every year. By the time he comes back up here for whatever it is, even if it's just to grab something from his apartment, his house, whatever, he should have a check waiting. It's like, here, Jax, here's a $165 million contract offer. Would you like this? Cool. See you later. Like it should be the simplest negotiation ever. The only reason I would say you delay it a little bit instead of doing it like tomorrow is if, again, you need to save some cash flow or whatever for Shahed, Ken, Reek, or Job, just because that money, those are new contracts. So you need to give them signing bonuses. It's hard to fudge those numbers as much. Whereas extensions, you can just get real fancy with how you want to spread out the cap hits and all that. Otherwise, yeah, Jax should be the highest paid receiver in the league. Without question. That should be a very easy negotiation.
JSN owns you. Fitting name, who we just talked about. Are there any other edges that might be available for cheap other than Crosby or Trey Hendrickson for big targets in free agency?
No, but there are a couple I like. Because let's see. Let me see if we can run some names by you. Chris, did I write these down? I did. Can I interest you, Chris, in a Jacob Martin reunion?
No.
Maybe. No Jacob Martin reunion.
Nah.
What about? Well, hold on. What's your opposition? Because I think Jacob's actually a decent edge rusher.
He probably is decent, but will he be better than Boye Mafe? I think that's the baseline.
Oh, I think that's very, very possible. Oh, for sure. Is that
really?
If that? Yeah. Now, Jacob. I mean, the Commanders' defense was not good. But if you're just asking me for like a situational pass rusher, yeah, I think Jacob could be that. Let me pull up Jacob's numbers real fast. Jacob's like 30 or something like that. But again, we're looking for like a 4th pass rusher, like because Chenna's under contract. Although if you want to save some money, you cut Chenna. I wouldn't do that, but you save like $11 million if you cut Chenna right now. Again, would not do that. I'm just throwing that out there. That if you are going to try to save money somewhere, you could do that. Chenna's back, D-Law back, D-Hall back. Okay. If I just need a 4th guy, Jacob last year on a bad Commanders defense had 17 quarterback hits, which is a lot, 5.5 sacks, and a pressure rate of 11.7, which I would guess is probably a little below the league average. But as my 4th guy, yeah. It's not moving you?
Who else you got, man?
Interesting. All right. Okay, let's keep it. That's how free agency goes, though. Sometimes you make a pitch and it doesn't work. Can I interest you in a Derek Barnett signing? With the Texans, I think he's like 30 as well. More of a power guy where Jacob's like speed. No?
I would say he's old too, right? Or is he 30? He'll be 30.
He's like 30. Like 30. But pass rusher is just not like, again, we're talking about a fourth, like, situational guy.
I hear
like,
you.
Being
But
30
you put
is
him out
not.
there, he's just getting cardio. That ain't fun.
No, I'm just saying you don't need him to play like a ton of snaps. You're looking at like
I hear you.
you're edge 4. It's like a third receiver. You know what I mean? I don't need you out there a ton.
We'll pass on him too. I'm sure you got better names. Let's go. Keep going.
I don't have a ton. Well, remember the question was for cheap. Now, obviously, if you want to spend some cash, then you go pay like Jalen Phillips or something like that, who the Eagles traded for from Miami.
For cheap, no, I'm still with it. I guess Martin would be your best bet so far. Like if I had to pick so far, it's just So I guess he would be. Who else? Is there one more? Or is that it?
Can I interest you? Can I interest you in like? I disagree with Popper's projection here because Popper played for Khalil Mack played for the Chargers, so maybe Pop's got some insight on here that he projects an $18 million deal for 35-year-old Khalil Mack. I do not see that.
Absolutely.
But if so, whatever. But Khalil still got some juice. Can I interest you in Khalil Mack? Nah,
we'll go with a 30-year-old in terms of a former Seahawk. Bring him on back. It's okay. We'll make it work. We'll give him a couple mil a year. Call it a day.
Interesting. Okay. All right. No Mac, huh? Mac can still play for what that's worth.
He can still play, but damn. I mean, I guess if you bring in DeMarcus Lawrence and he could ball out and fit just right in, that would be kind of sick. But is he okay with being the fourth guy?
Mac?
Yeah. I feel like he would be like, hell nah, I'm 2. What you mean 4?
That's a good question.
I don't know though. This is just projection.
I don't know him. That's a fair question, though. That's a fair question with any guy in free agency. I'll tell you this. What I do know is Khalil Mack has never won a playoff game. He's like 0-5 or 0-6 or something like that. The homie Chris Remy, ESPN, wrote about this. Once I saw the tweet, I texted Chris. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he's never won a playoff game? That's crazy. So, to answer your question, I imagine if the Seahawks came and were like, hey, Khalil, we only got like $7 million for you, but will you come rush the passer for us? He may be more inclined to be like, all right, I will be the fourth edge rusher on the Seahawks because I have never even won a playoff game. I could see something like that. I don't know Khalil, but I want to bring that up. And to put those Jacob Martin numbers in context for what this is worth, Boye had 4 quarterback hits this year. Jacob had 17, and their pressure rates were very similar as well. Like Jacob was very good. I think this would be that's what I would do. I would bring Jacob back to be my fourth guy. He was never a bad player too. They just needed to get rid of him to get Clowney, which was fine. But I would bring him back. He's like a perfect speed guy to complement. Like you got Chenna and D-Law, and then your backups are your strength guy and D-Hall, and then your speed guy and Jacob. I think that would be great if Boye goes and gets it back. But I hear you. Sometimes it's not the juice. I hear you.
Well,
but that's what I would do. I'd bring Jacob back.
I'm drinking it now. Fair enough. This next one is from Dipty. Which coaching move thus far is the most chasing edges?
Oh, definitely that nerd guy. Who's the nerd they hired? Daniel Stern? Is that his name? I'm pretty sure. The guy they got from the Ravens, who's like the football strategist dude, one of these nerd guys. Yep. Daniel. Yeah, went to Yale. This guy. I think he's actually going to be a coach, but whatever. He's a football nerd guy. I like that. I love having a bunch of nerds on staff to balance out the meatheadness that is football. As you guys know, listening to the show, I have grown in my appreciation for just violence in football. Like I see the value in it beyond the numbers, but I also like numbers. And also just a game strategy is very important. It's the difference in winning and losing in a lot of these situations for coaches, like when to go for it, how to use your timeouts, clock management, how to play the end of each half, when you should start using your timeouts on defense, when you should let the other team score, going for 2, not going for 2, when you should kick it deep, when you should try to get a return. The Seahawks were generally pretty good at all that stuff last year, particularly using their timeouts on defense. I thought Mike McDonald was very good at. Because I think that's one that can get guys tripped up too, because you just want to have your defense like, oh, we're going to stop. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, let's save time for our offense here just in case we don't get a stop. And this was a guy running the best defense in the league too. So just to add nerds to that, I love that. Because it's those little margins, man. It's that little, oh, we use this timeout here, we use this timeout there, when to ice the kicker, or like I said, when to kick it deep or when not to. Just all that stuff is all clock management. Great, it's very important. We've seen team seasons end because they didn't have like that little advantage there or did the wrong thing. Trying to think of one that comes to mind. Like, for instance, you guys remember, Chris, remember when the Cowboys lost that one year against, I think it was the Niners? Like, Dak ran it up the middle, and they had no timeouts. They tried to slide and spot the ball, and the clock ran out. The season ended. It was ridiculous. I think they might have fired the coach after that. If not, they should have. But, like, stuff like that, having a bunch of nerds around you would have told you not to do that. And you got to listen to your nerds, which I think Mike McDonald does a good job of. That's probably my favorite chasing edges move thus far, is just more nerds to complement the just the regular ball coaches you got. But yeah, bring me the nerds in there too. You need them. You're not going to win Super Bowls without nerds.
A what if scenario from 26 champion. If the Seahawks were to go all in on either Crosby, Linderbaum, Jay Jettas, Myles Garrett, what's a likely move?
None of those, but none. But I think if you were gonna try to do one of those, I mean, the real easy one is you just go get Max. Well, if you had to choose Myles Garrett is like the best. He's getting up there with the best players I've ever seen live. I can't remember what year they played the Browns. 2023, I think, is the last time I saw him. I think he played in the 2019 game as well. But yeah, he's right up there with like the best players I've seen live. Mahomes is up there. Christian McCaffrey's up there. I will always remember seeing D-Hop in 2017 give the Legion of Boom 225 yards or whatever. That was incredible. One of the best individual performance I've seen from anybody. Aaron Donald is obviously up there as well. Miles is just right up there as well. Max. But yeah, I mean, Miles is the one actually I would choose. You know, John has not since Percy, I don't think, has he traded for a guy and then automatically made that guy the highest paid person either on his side of the ball or on the team immediately without him playing a snap. That's like bad for locker room morale generally. However, I think guys would get over it if Myles Garrett walks in. Like, well, the defensive player of the year walked in. He makes more than us. Okay. You know, like that.
Go to work.
Yeah, honestly, whoever can't get over it, I tell him, hey, Mo Kelly's office is over there. Go over there and yell about it. Write a little ransom note. Vent to Mo Kelly, but you're going to get over that because that's Myles Garrett. He is unreal. Absolutely unreal. Again, I don't think any of those are going to happen. But if I had to pick one, definitely wouldn't be Linderbaum. I just don't think the center is kind of like running back for me, where it's like the difference between the highest paid guy and like a guy you can get by with is not worth the difference in salary. Because what does the highest paid center make right now? It's a lot. I think it's like Creed Humphrey. Yeah, he makes $18 million. Jalen Sundell makes. Is he even on here? Jesus Christ, you gotta scroll to get to Jalen Sundell. That boy don't make nothing. He needs a raise. Yeah, I think Jalen Sundell. I mean, he was on a undrafted contract too, so it's probably pennies. But is the difference between them like 18 million? You know, probably not. Like Linderbaum, you probably should give him 19 mil. I don't think the difference is like that. So I think all those are unrealistic, but I think I would just tell guys to go vent to Mo Kelly, vent to whatever deity you believe in. If you got a problem with Myles Garrett making more than you, you just gonna need to go work that out with your local therapist. But yeah, none of those moves are happening, to be very clear. But yeah, Myles, that would be the one.
Speaking of Stern, do you think he'll fill the quarterback coordinator position, or will Fleury bring in a familiar face?
Yeah, that one I'm not sure about. I should probably like find out more of that at the combine. My guess would it be they bring in a different quarterbacks coach? That would just be my guess, speculating right here. But like I said, it sounds like from what I have heard that Stern will try to be an actual coach, not just football nerd guy. So I guess it would not surprise me if he ends up being just the quarterback's coach as well. I think if you are going to be that, it's a good place to have a nerd is also working with the quarterback, like the guy who touches the ball every play. Your football strategist nerd guy works directly with him and the head coach, particularly when you also have your head coach calling the plays on defense as well. Yeah, that's where his focus is. On game day, you want to make sure the quarterback and their offensive coordinator and your quarterback's coach are all on the same page with all the situational stuff you have to do when they have the ball. But I don't know. My genuine answer right now today is I don't know. I would guess they'd bring out someone from the outside, but Daniel Stern, I believe, in addition to being a nerd, was the assistant quarterback coach in Baltimore too. So I mean, it's not like he's not qualified, you know. So making him the guy also makes sense to me as well.
This is from Kyle. Given the small number of draft picks the Seahawks have this year, what do you see Schneider and McDonald doing?
Oh, you got to trade back. What did I say they have, Chris? 4?
Yep.
4 picks? You got to turn that into, what number would you be comfortable with? 7 picks? 8?
That sounds like the Schneider way to me. He usually gets about 9 picks, but if you can get, 4 to 7, that's playing. It's a lot of bites at the apple. So I would say 7 or more. 7 would be a great start. If you can get 7, great. But if you can get 8, 9, that's even better.
Yeah, I think I'm 8 is what I would try to get to. That'd be my ideal number. Is get to 8. John just is not. A lot of GMs are not, by the way. But John, with only a few bites at the apple, can get ugly. Respect to the reigning rookie of the executive of the year, of course. But we've seen the bad drafts. So he needs more bites at the apple. I would say try to double that. Yeah, turn 4 into 8. If that means your first pick is not till like pick 57 or whatever, so be it. I think that's just got to be what you do this year. They had something like that before. I think Frank, when they picked him, after they lost the Super Bowl, I think Frank was their first pick at like pick 60, 63, I believe it was. So maybe you have a year like that. They picked. Oh, I got it right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They had 8 picks in that draft. Now, that draft was not good, to be very clear, but Chris, it produced, remember the top 2 picks in that draft? Frank and Locke. Those were picks 63 and 69. So Locke was pick 69. That's funny. Yeah, if you can get a draft, sorry, I'm childish. If you can get something like that, turn those 4 into 8, and then just hit on those first 2. You're in business, but you can't just go with four picks. That would be ridiculous. They'll have a bad draft if John only picks 4 times. I feel bad like projecting the negativity, but that's just real. I just don't think we'll have a good draft if he only has 4 picks.
Sports lore. How do you see Mike McDonald tackling this offseason in preparation for season number 3?
Yeah, man, I would have one piece of advice for Mike. Spend time with Jack and Stephanie. Stephanie's his wife. Because I can already see Mike getting back and being like, I got to stay ahead of everybody. I got to have all these coverage answers and all these, and sit there with Fleury and figure out like how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. They're going to do this. So this is how we're going to, combat that. And Mike, breathe. Maybe I'll tell him this at the combine. Hey, man, go to Mexico with Stephanie and Jack. Just relax, brother. No blitzes, no coverages, no fronts. No coaching clinics. Just do that for a little bit. I think he needs that because knowing Mike, he is going to be locked in on trying to stay ahead of the curve. That's what that chasing the edges stuff is staying ahead so that, all right, cool. Everyone's going to be studying the Seahawks defense all year. Every OC in the league is going to be studying the Seahawks defense. How do we beat this thing? And Mike knows that. So he's going to be like, all right, cool. I'm going to be ahead of y'all. You're studying me. I'm studying y'all. Cool. That's great, Mike. There'll be playing time for that. Just don't do it now. Spend some time with Steph. Spend some time with Jack, his son. He needs that. He should do that. But knowing him, he is going to grind his ass off to make sure, oh, y'all studying me? Well, watch this. I'm going to make sure I got this for y'all by the time week 1 starts. That's how he's wired. That's why when he gets called like the Sean McVay of defense, I think that's what really makes him like Sean, because that's what Sean does. That's why if you read about Sean, he was almost going to retire that year they sucked because he drinking a bunch of vodka sodas and stuff and like questioning, have his existential crisis and everything because he just thinks a lot. He's an overthinker like Mike is. But that's why he's ahead of everyone as well. That's why he was this year as well, the best offense in the league. So Mike's the same way. But I would tell both of them, they both are dads now, Sean McVay and Mike McDonald, go spend time with your wives. Go to Mexico, Spain, wherever, Africa. Go have a good time, then come back and grind the football stuff. But Mike's going to be on it, just like Sean McVay is every year as well.
Jeremiah, how does the lack of ownership impact this offseason?
Well, they do have an owner. But I do think the ownership thing is huge in a lot of ways, but just to keep it just to the offseason, I just think it's going to be interesting how they structure some of these contracts. Because you can do this a few different ways. You can try to front load everything so that Jody is footing this bill. You can try to like backload some of the stuff and say, hey, all these payments are due right after we estimate the sale is final. All right, new owner, that's on you. Or, it just depends on how you want to do stuff with cash in particular. Because when you talk about void years and contract structures, your ownership is who sets that. You can pay everybody. Everybody we've talked about paying, Jody can pay everybody. Void years, use some option bonuses, some creative stuff. Remember they did with Gino's contract? That was creative as hell. You can do all that type of stuff and just leave it to whoever else to pay. And Jeff Bezos, you pay Jackson Smith and Jigba $70 million on the cap in 2029. Like, you deal with that, Steve Ballmer. You pay Spoon in 2028 $50 million in option bonus, whatever, right? You can just leave that for the next owner if you want. So that's important. That's going to matter with how they do that. I'm going to try to find out more clarity on that because I do think with how many guys are going to need to get some cash too, signing bonuses, everything, that matters. That matters quite a bit. And I think the Commanders, it mattered for their offseason too, like how they structure deals. So there's a lot of ways ownership affects stuff like travel, accommodations for families, meals, strength and conditioning, just how they do everything. Just the vibe, the culture is set by your ownership group or owner, if it's one person or a family or whatever. But just in the immediate, I think how they handle the offseason and the money they dish out, how Jody wants to handle that versus how much to push down the line, I think is going to, that's pretty interesting. That's like a quiet little subplot here to this ownership sale thing.
Got a few more. This is from Sam at SammyC521. How do you balance insider, off the record stuff, knowledge with being a journalist?
Very difficult. It's very difficult because we're in this age right now where everyone wants to be first and everyone wants to be an insider. Like you'll notice this, like a thing that I don't know why people do is when something comes out, all these like quote tweets and tweets are like, yeah, man, I heard this a few months ago. It jives with, whatever. Who cares? You didn't report it. So it doesn't really matter. But I don't really do that. Like either I'm going to report the thing or I'm not. My main thing is I just want to just make sure I'm being real with the audience. That's it. Just be real with the audience. That's like general rule. I'll play that in the back of my head. It really was pertinent when Russ was beefing with Pete and everybody behind the scenes and that, like, let Russ cook here. Shotty was caught in the middle of it. Like, I made sure to tell Chris everything that he needed to know so we could pod. But then we had to be like, all right, Chris, let's say like half of that on the show. That's really what we did. Like every show in the back half of that 2020 season. It's like, all right, Chris, here's what I just heard. Here's what we can tell the people. But I feel like if you guys were listening to those shows, you weren't like, damn, man, what are Chris and Mike not telling us? It was probably like, oh, wow, this era is over. They're cooked based on what Chris and Mike are saying. Right. So that's where the balance is tough sometimes. Like I knew that was over. Right, but I didn't want to come up here and just act like I didn't know that. But I also just can't say, yeah, Russ is going to ask for a trade. Here's the teams he wants. Because I wasn't authorized to reveal all that. But the main thing is like being real with y'all so you guys at least kind of have a feel of what's going on. Or if I have to, sometimes just leave some breadcrumbs. Be like, hey, guys, this number matters. Or, hey, did you guys notice this? Or this guy said this thing here. That's interesting. I think another instance is like, when Gino went on Sherm's podcast after they beat the Niners in week 11 of the 2024 season, and Gino was like, yeah, I think I'm like one of the best. My number said, I was like, oh, he's out of here. I knew for months. There's no way in God's green earth. John agreed that Gino was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And that's fine. Which is why in week 18, I was like, hey, Gino, do you think John and the Seahawks think you're one of the best? He was like, yeah, I do. I was like, all right, yeah, he's gone. But that was in like January of that year or whatever. And then they traded Gino. I was like, yeah, he's gone. But I just couldn't come in here and after that week 18 game, like, yeah, guys, Gino's out of here. One, because I wasn't for sure. But sometimes I do have an inkling of things and I gotta be careful. But my main thing is always make sure Chris knows what's going on. So I'm not hiding stuff from him because we do this together. But also just be real with the audience. Make sure we're giving them the information they need to satisfy whatever's going on in the moment. It can be tricky sometimes. Sometimes I do know, like, they're not signing that guy, or that guy will have told me, yeah, he's gone. But if they tell me at the same time, hey, Mike, I don't want that out yet, you got to respect that, because I ain't no snitch. So that rarely happens. It's happened before, but it doesn't happen often. Like right now, I don't know whether Reek is coming back. Like, he hasn't told me, and if he did tell me, I wouldn't tell y'all. If Reek had told me to keep it quiet, for real, I just wouldn't. I would tell Chris. I wouldn't tell you guys. If Reek told me to keep it private, or any player, Josh Jobe, Kobe, Ken, if they had told me, I wouldn't say it, because sometimes I gotta protect the source there. So it is a balance. It's a good question. I could probably do a lot longer thing on that, but that's like the gist of it. Just try to be real with y'all. Make sure Chris has enough info, so I'm not just letting Chris say something that's crazy that he gets burned on later, because I knew it wasn't true. I never want to do that. So make sure Chris knows, and then try to give you guys as much information as possible that I'm allowed to provide. But it is tricky, because sometimes somebody will walk up, tell me something, I'm like, damn, that'd be great to tell my audience right now, or to tweet, or to tell my editor, but I got to sit on it to protect whoever told it to me. So that happens quite a bit, a lot in the off season, a lot during the season as well. But hopefully you guys still feel like you're getting insider info from us, because I try to make sure I give you guys that as well.
Last one comes from Mayonnaise. How do we get the NFL to allow throwbacks in the postseason?
Ooh, that would be tough. I don't know. Make more money off of it. Everything's about money. If the NFL can make money off of it, they'll eventually do it. Probably. They're going to play 18 games. They're going to play a game on Saturn at some point. They're going to make a team open its season, against some random team of people from Iceland or something like that. Everything's going to be about money. The first game of the year every year is going to be, at some point in 2040, it's going to be the Washington Commanders versus a bunch of streamers. I don't know. It's just everything is about money. Money, 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 money. If you can make money off of it, the NFL will try it. They're sending a team to play they're sending the Niners and Rams to play in Australia. There's no reason that anybody should play a regular season game in Australia. Why are they playing in Australia? Because of money. There's an entire broadcast on Nickelodeon of NFL games. I have kids. I don't give a damn about that. Why is a game on Nickelodeon? Why is Nick Burlington getting slimed talking about go routes? Because money. So the answer to pretty much everything, when will the NFL do this? When it makes a bunch of money. That is it. That's like the general answer. There's no reason we should be playing in Australia. There's no reason there should be 18 games. There's no reason for half this stuff. Money. There's no reason to play on Thursday. That Australia game is probably going to be on a Wednesday. Why? Money. Everything was about cash. So that would be the answer. How do you get throwbacks? How do you get anything? New helmets, new whatever, new socks, whatever. How do you get guys to wear because remember, guys used to get fined for having certain stuff on their cleats that wasn't regulation. How do you fix that? Oh, my cause, my cleats. Boom. Pick your charity, guys. Let's market that. Money. They ain't care about those causes. They're about making money. So yeah, everything is about cash. If you want the NFL to do something, go tell Roger Goodell how it can make the owners more money, and don't think about it.
Well, look, we appreciate all the love and support. That's a wrap. It's been a minute since we talked to you guys, but we wanted to give you a little something, especially as Mike is taking some time off as he needs it. That boy been working from April all the way up until now. So long season, but we appreciate all the love and support. Also, didn't mean to show the backside, but he still got that book out there in them streets. I'm sure he probably got copies that he's still shipping, because more and more people are like, oh, he wrote a book I need. So go ahead and get that book. I'm sure Mike got a copy to show.
I do not have a copy near me. They're upstairs ready to ship. But thank you. Yes, I do have copies. Yes. And they're available on Amazon too. Amazon made more paperbacks. So you can order them on Amazon, ship them to me, and I will send them back. Signed. Paperbacks though. I have hard copies, but if you want one from Amazon, they have paperback. So yeah, appreciate the love and support. Rate, review, subscribe, comment, repost, reshare, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Am I missing anything, Chris?
That's all of it.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time. Probably do something after I get back from Indianapolis. Be a lot of good nuggets I get from hanging out in steakhouses till 2 a.m. and gossiping. So once I get back from doing all that, we'll run something back. Until then, enjoy your week, enjoy your off season, buy a book. Peace.